Will, how the hell do you introduce yourself?
That's a question that I find really hard to answer, and I feel like I'd start iterating various versions of a LinkedIn profile. I suppose I am someone who is an opportunist, and I tend to strike at opportunity if it gives a wow factor and if it keeps me satisfied and it satisfies those around me. I'm an event organizer, I'm a marketeer, I'm a hostel owner, I'm a guest speaker, I'm a writer, I am plenty of other things, but I suppose overall I'm an opportunist, and that's about it really.
Jesus. Okay, cool. Well, look, you're speaking at Fresh Resolutions all about jumping out of your comfort zone. Could you give me like an example of sometime, like how would I suppose you exemplify that yourself personally?
Well, I suppose I always had a massive fear of being lonely, and I suppose I would always compensate by being a very hyper social creature, constantly out, constantly with people, constantly organising events, craving feedback loops from people, giving me that attention and kind of getting reinforced and feeling good about myself when I was surrounded by people. And in essence, to try and get away from that and occupy myself, being so busy and not giving myself freedom to think, I, for example, would have left the country about 18 months ago to almost 2 years ago to be on my own for as long as possible, as far away as possible, traveling to places like India, Japan and Iran, everywhere else, to try and see, could I fully be alone? And at the time I was also starting up a new business with an ex-business partner of mine about how to have a healthy relationship with technology, or in essence free yourself from distraction. And while doing that, I learned about just how social we are as humans, and how it's not necessarily that you make yourself busy to avoid being alone in isolation, but that you are naturally hardwired that way from the moment you're born to crave human interaction, to be around that people. But maybe I was just hypersensitive to it. And I came across this guy, his name is Robin Dunbar, a really interesting guy, and he created this number, and he was studying the kind of the grooming primate behavior, where they would use it as a bonding mechanism in their circles or whatever it was. And he also had human data in a sample size, and he realized that the way we're connected is very similar to the way primates are, and we have an exact number to our grouping, and our number is 150. That is approximately the amount of people we have in our social circle. Well, it's a range of numbers, so you'll have 5, that's like your mum, your dad, maybe it's your husband, your wife, maybe it's like your best friend. For me to be my friend Craig, he's one of my core 5. And then you'd have 15, that's like your people you call when you're stuck. Your car's broke down, you've been robbed, you call your 15. 50 is like the people you see on a regular basis, your after work drinks people, the people you would want to meet up with and have a coffee with maybe once a week or every 2 weeks. Then you got your 150, that's like the people you invite to your wedding or like a 50th birthday party. And the number goes up to about 1,500. The amount of people you can recognize by, a face to a name. But what happened then was, because I was studying this kind of tech addiction stuff at the time, I was like, this is complete bull. There's no way this can be true. I've got like 4,500 friends on Facebook and all these Instagram followers. Surely this is now defunct. Looking into it further, it was based on physical and deep, meaningful human interactions. And so while away from home, away from my family, away from my friends, in countries where I didn't speak any of the languages, and I was in very remote places, maybe living as a monk in China, or whatever it was I was doing at the time, I got to fully engage with people in ways I've never engaged with people before. But to do that, I had to do what this talk is about. It's about stepping outside of your comfort zone. And sometimes doing things that seem impossible, but when you do it, it changes your perspective on everything you do going forward from that.
Okay, so sorry, let me dive into that. So you're saying when you step outside your comfort zone, it completely changes your perspective on what's achievable or what's realistic.
You're breaking out of your routine. You're breaking your habit cycle. So you wake up in the morning and you got to brush your teeth. You grab the toothbrush and you start brushing your teeth. You're not really thinking about it. You may be thinking about, okay, what am I going to say to my boss when I get in? I wonder, is there going to be much traffic this morning? Did I send that email? Or, I wonder, am I going to get lambasted out and after the minutes from this meeting is called out? You're not actually thinking about brushing your teeth at all, but your subconscious mind has learned this habit and it's doing it. And so we do our whole day is made up of these little subconscious routines that we don't really have any feeling of it whatsoever. Right now you're breathing, right now you're sitting there, right now you're able to move your hands, move your shoulders, your eyes are open and they're making facial expressions. You're not really in control of any of that in the conscious level, but your subconscious is. So stepping outside of your comfort zone means analysing every single one of your subconscious movements. Imagine in the morning you got to brush your teeth and you're now using your left hand. All of a sudden you find it extremely difficult to find where you're going with that. Same if you were to drive a car from the other side for the first time, it's a little bit unusual. So doing the things that are outside of your habit circles allows you to use new parts of your brain, because your brain's very plastic in its structure. And so if you can reinforce these new movements that you're stepping outside of your old routines, you start becoming a more neuroflexible person. You become more durable, like learning a new language or learning a new instrument. You're using parts of your brain that are currently untapped. And that's a really, really good way to live your life, because it allows you to open up your horizons to try new things in ways that you wouldn't have previously.
Well, let me pull you back to what you were talking about initially, where you went on your travels. Did you literally just buy a one-way ticket?
Yeah, so I bought a one-way ticket and decided to see what would happen. You know, I left due to its cause, and a lot of people were curious, you know, when are you going to come back, and what are you planning to do? And I think I told a whole bunch of lies, but I knew I wasn't going to come home. And I stayed away for about 14 months and just kept going from country to country, crossing borders, boats, tuk-tuks, taxis, planes, trains, couch surfing, hitchhiking, strangers just taking me into the home. Whatever it did, I just kept saying yes, because it made life exciting. And I learned more doing that than doing a backpacking route around Thailand for a month.
Like everybody else does.
Like everybody else does.
Wow. Can I ask, at any point in those 14 months, you could have been home the following week, or you could have been gone for another 14 months? Would that be about right?
I'd love to lie and say I was going for as long as my budget would let me go, but I could have travelled a lot longer. I did come home when the time felt right. I felt like I had achieved what I was looking to do. And also I've been to some places that were rather dangerous, and my family were like, will you please come home? So I felt there was a duty of care as well to my family to, you know, check in with them. And the plan was then to go and, you know, set sails and continue over the other side of the world towards Central and South America for a while. You know, look at the cocaine trail. I'd gotten very investigative in the way I was traveling, and I had been meeting soldiers and generals, and I've been meeting opium den, you know, managers and whatever I don't know what you'd call the title of the person who runs an opium den. And I'd met smugglers and arms dealers and anti-Taliban vigilantes, and I just met so many different people, and I became so intrigued and entrapped in their life after becoming so comfortable in my own that I wanted to keep it going. And I wanted to go and look at these prisons in Bolivia that you can go and you can live inside for a week under protection to learn what it's like to live inside these prisons. And I wanted to learn about the people who have to smuggle the whole cocaine trail through Mexico into the US. I wanted to learn about the donkey sex fascination in Colombia, and just these mad things that I become more entrapped into than rather than seeing a cathedral or a temple or, you know, visiting the top 10 things to do on TripAdvisor, became more storified in the way I was traveling through people's lives rather than my own.
Can I ask you, you're around a load of entrepreneurial mates, loads of them doing loads of different things. You yourself are doing loads. If you could have a quick chat with them as they were starting their careers, and you could give them a bit of a tip or a bit of a hack in terms of just speeding up their entrepreneurial journey or making that journey that little bit easier, what would that tip be?
Don't sweat the small stuff. And that's a paraphrase from someone else's book, but it rang true to me, and it's something that if I could take that back and give it to William or any of my friends in an entrepreneurial circuit, say 4 or 5 years ago, don't sweat the small stuff, because it's all small stuff. In like 40 years time, you know, I'll be 67, I'll be coming towards the end of my tenure on the face of the earth. I'll have achy knees that don't work as well as they used to. I won't be able to go upstairs in one run. I won't be able to eat all the foods that I want. I won't be able to do and drink all the things that I want to drink. You've got a very, very limited time span. And as you get older and you get towards the end of this lifespan, every single day is relatively smaller than when you compare it to the entire expanse of your life. When you're 2 days old, that second day is 100% more than the first day you've lived. And that's why when you're a child, your life seems to last for eternity. A 3-hour journey to the beach seems like it's going to take 1,000,000 years. Life starts to accelerate to a close. So if we spend our entire life sweating the small stuff, the tiny things that we get wrapped up on, I didn't pay this, I'm in debt here, I'm in debt there. If all that is still there tomorrow, why are we wasting time worrying about it between then and the next day, you know? So just don't sweat the small stuff, because it's all just small stuff.